Good morning and welcome to Shamanic Sundays. Hi, Dad.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, relatives out there. Thank you for joining us. We're so happy to be here with you and so grateful for this sun coming up in our lives and your lives, and really honored that you would choose to spend this time with us. Thank you. Poppy, would you start us off with a morning prayer?
Oh, thank you, Great Spirit, Great Mystery, Creator, Wisdom, Power of the universe, breathing life force into us, giving us this day, this opportunity to wake up, to wise up, remember our connection with you and with each other and with all of creation, with all that has been, all that is, all that will be. Thank you for our ancestors. Gratitude to our ancestor spirits. Gratitude to the ancestor spirits of the land we live on. Thank you for the gift of life, the gifts of creation. Thank you for our families, our communities, our work in the world, and this day. This is the day you give us to live our intentions. May we choose our intentions of what we put our consciousness and attention into with clarity, with strength, for healing, for peace, with justice in the world. Polishing up our stardust to be channels for your healing light and love through our bodies, out to each other, listening to this, and through us out into the world for the healing of the sacred hoop. May it be so. Oh,
Oh, thank you.
right.
So this was a big week because, do you know why?
You tell me.
Well, it was a big week in some unforeseen ways that fortunately have turned out okay. But one of the things that we knew was going to be a big deal, and it happened, was the launch of your, I think, sixth book, Psychedelic Shaman, A Wisdom Warrior's Path to Transformation. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gratitude to Inner Traditions for making it happen. Gratitude to my friend Brent in the spirit world who hooked me up with Joe, agent, Coolin, who hooked me up with Inner Traditions and for them
Yeah.
bringing it out. Oh,
Yeah. And Roger Clay for his support,
and
for
you're editing, and
I did
several
a
other
little
people's
editing.
editing. Yeah,
Yep.
a team effort.
It was a team effort, as most things worthwhile in the world are. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and we had a really fun book launch party for you Tuesday night on the day that it came out into the world. That was super cool. Shout out to Margot and Bill for hosting. Thank you to them and all the relatives that came out to celebrate and listen to you read a little bit.
Yeah, that
So
was fun.
it was fun. Um, so I thought it would be cool to ask you a couple questions about the book. And first one that comes to mind is, what is your favorite part of the book?
I think my favorite part is at the end in the appendix where I talk about appropriation
Mm,
and what that means. Um, people people taking from an indigenous culture what they want and using it for their profit without giving anything back to the indigenous. So it's a manifestation of or continuation of colonialist exploitation, feeding feeding systems that favor people with white skins and prejudice and discriminate against people with brown skins. So I speak about that, what it is in detail, and then how to address that. How what constitutes a right relationship when you're working with indigenous people. So I feel good about that, and I give I think four or five um, groups that are working for indigenous rights that I feel good about as a suggestion of people to be able to contribute to and as inspiration for how they can learn about uh, the indigenous people where they live and the issues that are facing the indigenous people, that they can do something to address and bring justice to injustice.
Yeah. What does right relationship mean to you? Because you talk a lot about right relationship in your work and also in your book, and in regard to cultural appropriation, certainly it's extremely relevant.
Well, in this context, it's recognizing, number one, that if you're learning something from indigenous people and you're trying to integrate what you've learned into your life, take the time to learn about the true history of what the fate of indigenous people has been in this country, the genocide, the slaughter, the murder, the prejudice and discrimination and the horrors that have been done to Native people in this country from the get-go, and that are still being done, if not genocide, the violation of the treaties, the prejudice and discrimination. Native people have highest suicide rates and the shortest lifespans, and there's reasons for that. There's historical reasons for that, the forces of violence and oppression that continue to operate today, not overtly, more covertly, but still oppressing people. So learn about that, and learn the history of where you live, what's happened where you live. In California, is one of the highest rates of genocide on Turtle Island, and learn about the issues of concern for indigenous people, from their thinking, from listening to them, and what you can do to not just take, but give back. So there's a balance. That's what right relationship is, recognizing the sacredness of reciprocity for what, if there's something you're taking, that gives something back that's meaningful to the people that you're working with. And so that means getting involved in addressing those issues of oppression and prejudice, and doing what you can, using your white privilege to help bring consciousness to other people in the mainstream culture who don't realize what oppression is continuing today, and do what you can to support and help in whatever way you can. And so then there's a giving back and not just taking. And it's a giving back in a way that's meaningful to the indigenous people. It's not just you projecting on, well, I'm going to be a do-gooder and I'm going to go do this or that and think it's going to save I'm going to be a hero or something like that. Be humble and listen to their statements about what's meaningful to them, how they feel oppressed, and what their thoughts are about how we, as for those of us who are Caucasian, how we can get involved in a way that's meaningful to the indigenous people, so they feel respected, they feel heard, and we create ally relationships of balance and respect. That's the key. How to create ally relationships.
Yeah, I think I really appreciate what you're saying about that. It's meaningful, right relationship. It's not your or my presumption of right relationship, but that you take the time to ask questions, to inquire, to learn, and to create meaningful give and take. I recently met Jesse Shortbull, who was one of the directors of the recent Free Leonard Peltier documentary. And it's quite crazy timing because I got to meet him right around the time when Leonard actually was allowed to go home finally. So it was quite powerful.
Hallelujah.
But we had a good conversation about bridge building. And I think what's so key is, as you said, going humbly, showing up humbly, and really trying to listen and hear, not just with your ears, but with your heart and your spirit, and all of your senses. So thank you. I appreciate that. And we can put in the show notes some of the organizations that you've supported over the years and continue to support.
Excuse me for interrupting, but you're involved. One of those organizations is Tribal Trust that you're involved with, that does wonderful programs, support programs for Indigenous people around the world. Maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, Tribal Trust was founded 26 years ago by a woman like Barbara Savage, named Barbara Savage, who, like you, has been a bridge builder for a long time. They work primarily with hunter-gatherer societies around the world, tribes around the world, because they're the least, I want to say, touched still, and their ways of being are most fragile,
Yeah.
as our extractive society expands into their jungles and forests and deserts, and so they've been really committed to preserving, helping to, first of all, just really being there to ask, like, what do you need from us? And then responding to the answers, and really focusing on preserving wisdom traditions and culture and arts and education.
Language.
Language, yeah. So really finding ways to both support the hunter-gatherer peoples that they work with, and then also to bring some of their teachings back to us white people, Eurocentric peoples, so we can better understand and be more respectful and humble, and hopefully, down the line, all work together more. So yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
and you're working with Tribal Trust, so thank you for your work with them.
Yeah, I'm honored to be working and collaborating with them right now. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got some great programs going on. So thanks for bringing that up. But back to your book, we'll have Barbara on as a guest one day, and we can talk more with her directly. That'd be super cool. But what do you hope that readers most like? What are the two things that come to mind and heart that you most hope readers will take away from this book?
That by paying attention to nature, how nature works, the cycles and rhythms of the natural world, we can open our consciousness to an attunement to that wisdom, and through that attunement, the guidance about how to live in harmony and balance with the creative powers of nature. We have access to that wisdom. We have access to that wisdom by paying attention to nature. We live in that wisdom, and it lives in us. And so to recognize that and humble ourselves, to learn, to open our minds that we can learn from nature, inner nature and outer nature, how to live in harmony and balance in a supportive way with all of life to help create a beautiful and safe, just world, win-win world for all beings, that we're capable of doing that. And despite the upsetting challenges of so much action being taken today in disrespect of nature, with the current political situation in Washington, pumping that up with steroids, it's still possible for us, all of us, to make a difference and be facilitators of change in a meaningful way toward unplugging from those destructive ways of being in nature, trying to control it, believing we're better than it, and instead, as indigenous wisdom teaches, humble ourselves, open ourselves, and recognize everything we see in nature is a manifestation of divine creative wisdom, power of the universe, and it's working. It knows how to sustain itself with great diversity and beauty and marvelous creations and cooperation and synergy. I mean, it's amazing what she knows how to do when we don't interfere with her, and instead work respectfully with humility, harmony and balance with her. And so it's always possible for us to be able to transform the kind of world we're living in if we pay attention to the wisdom that lives in our deepest nature and the nature that we see in the natural world.
That's one, but it has many layers. So we could count it as more. Anything else? Any second big bucket concept that you really hope readers take away?
That the essence of our being is infinite, unconditional light and love, which is the essence energy of the universe, and from which all known manifestation comes out of that creative wisdom power, whose essence energy is infinite, unconditional light and love. And that lives in us, and we live in that we're sacred beings. We're sacred, luminous beings worthy of respect and consideration and care and celebration. And we are love, and our love is forgiving.
We are. Okay, we're going to go back to that one in a second. But first, I want to jump back to the title. What's the difference? How would you describe the difference between just in quotes, just a shaman and a psychedelic shaman?
Well, psychedelic refers to mind expanding, and usually associated with psychoactive sacred plants that, when taken in a respectful way, can help open our consciousness up to free us from the constriction of thinking all we are is our ego identity associated with our physical bodies and all the stories our ego cooks up, creating our life drama. So shaman refers to in indigenous cultures. Most of them don't have that name for it. It's really medicine people who've been through an initiatory training of some years, led by the elders, that have passed through the tests of initiation, and you might say come out the other side of that, having passed the test and then gone through some ceremony that the tribe recognizes this person has that access to the spirit world and the allies that they can call on to help us address the challenges we're facing. So in the title of my book, my initial opening from that ego identity, constricted, tight, suffering ego identity, was through respectful work with psychedelics. And that opened the doorway for me to learn and explore who are the people around the world who work with sacred plants, and in what way do they do that. So it's socially integrated within the tribe, within the culture, within the group. And I want to learn about that. I want to learn from the wisdom of tens of thousands of years of people working with the psychedelic power plants in a way that they've developed through their ceremonies, are in fact a manifestation of research and development, how to create the conditions and the setting that can maximize the potential for that opening to fullest blossoming, greatest good of cosmic consciousness. So psychedelic shaman, and most of the cultures, I mean, the majority, if not all the cultures around the world, other than where it's in the Arctic or Antarctic when it's all snow, have found plants or aspects of animals, secretions from animals or whatever, that do alter consciousness, that do open the doorway to altered states of consciousness, and to be able to connect with the underlying deeper reality from which all that we see and know comes from. So that's what I mean by psychedelic shamans, the interface between those two.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. So then going back to the teaching that you always want to go back to for good reason is enabling people, opening people, yourself, me, all of us beings to be able to live our fullest potential as love-filled beings, and believe it's trauma that usually like starts blocking us up and preventing us from living that love, right?
Well, that's one causative force, yeah.
Yeah. I know that was for you, of course. We don't need to get into it more because you talk about it a lot, and in your book about your dad passing away when you were a kid, little kid. But it can also just be the trauma of the times that people are living in, things that anything that it's like just a little knock that like allows you to shut your heart instead of being open and courageous and letting that energy flow. So can you just lead us through a couple minutes of reflection and maybe visualization in a shamanic energy way to open our hearts to live the love that we are in this coming week?
Okay, well, let's close our eyes
All right.
Let our eyelids close down over our eyeballs so we're not seeing anything in the external world. And we can feel our breathing cycle for a moment of our breathing, taking in the gift of life, feeling that life energy come in with the breath, move through us, activate all the powers of physical and physiological and energetic and cognitive functions that are going on 24/7, promoting our health and our wellness and our healing. And the cleansing breath out, releasing, taking a deep breath in and holding it in our hearts. Hold it, keep holding it. And when we let it out, we're going to let it out with a chant of Mahalo, stretching it out as long as we can. Hold it, and let it go. Breath in, breath out, and just listen, feel inside yourself. Notice your energy state from that simple taking in the breath, holding it, letting the tension build, releasing with the Hawaiian word mahalo, which means thank you. Remembering that grace grows where gratitude flows. And that whatever situations in your personal life, in your body, in your family, in your community, whatever situations in the world of troubling situations, so many of them that you're aware of and impacting you, triggering whatever reactivity it triggers. Remembering, as long as we're alive, as long as we're conscious, as long as we're being breathed by the universe, we can open to allow love's healing flow moving into us with the breath, flowing through us, helping us notice places of contraction, letting them go, releasing the cleansing breath out. And beneath the storms on the surface, deep down below, at the center of our being, through grace, peace abides, wisdom guides, and love provides. We can be a channel when we choose it as our intention to drop into our hearts, fuel the breath, using the breath of the fuel of breath to open our hearts to the gift of infinite unconditional love that lives in our hearts. Empower it, grow it, expand it, and extend it outward to whomever or wherever you want to send it to, into the heart of that person or that place for healing. And in sending out that love, when we focus all our attention, instead of getting, which our culture teaches to do, get, more, giving, instead of being a fault finder, which our culture teaches us to do, be a love finder, be a love giver, honor the truth of our being, that we are love through grace, and our love is forgiving, sending it out into the world for the healing of the sacred who. May it be so. Oh.
Oh, thank you. Be a love finder.
Love
I,
giver. Love
I,
giver. Yeah.
a love finder, a love giver, both
Yeah.
work reciprocally in good paths when we're on good paths. What you said about when we use the phrase mahalo, it made me think of when I lived over in Hawaii and one of the, so in Hawaiian, kahuna is the word for, their medicine people, their shamans. And and a kahuna that I met once on Molokai, and I asked him, like, what's the real, what would you say the real translation of aloha is? And he said, I open my heart and send love out to you.
Mm.
And I just thought that's the best word ever. Part of why I love Hawaii so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, mahalo and aloha.
Aloha, mahalo.
I can't remember his name. I wish I would share it, but thank you for that. All right. Well, anything else you want to share for the week ahead? Go order your book if you haven't yet ordered Psychedelic Shaman, a Wisdom Warrior's Guide to Transformation. Make sure you get that.
Wake up, wise up,
Live,
li-
love, now.
live, love, alive in 2025.
Yeah.
That's the assignment. Live, love, alive in 2025. So whatever challenge you're involved in, whatever your reactivity gets triggered, just ask yourself, what would it mean? What would it look like? What would it feel like to live, love, alive in 2025? Just ask that question into your deeper being, open, and see what comes back.
All right. Yep, that's my call.
Okay.
I'm being called to live, love, alive in 2025 with this phone call.
Oh,
Everyone have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next week.
all right.
Yeah.
Bye
And
con Dios.